So the timer Nazi is here. So perhaps somebody in the audience can do me a favor. I have 30 minutes. When I'm at 20 minutes, if somebody can just wave and let me know that I'm at 20 minutes, and then I know, because I tend to go off script quite a lot. There is a message to this PowerPoint, I guess. Am I supposed to click something?
Yeah, I just you can use this.
I can just do it here. Okay. I'm old school now. That's good. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about a few things. And first of all, thank you very much to that table. 3 women in this room. I want to give a special round of applause to the 3 women entrepreneurs that showed up. Thank you. Women are actually a lot more fearless when it comes to the world of entrepreneurship. And I say this because our makeup is different, and I will get into that in a second. But you heard Lalit gave a very good introduction, a very generous one actually, thank you. So you've gathered, I wear several hats. I'm a lawyer by profession. My practice is with sole proprietors. I work with startups, I work with small businesses, and I work with corporate governance and commercial issues. That is my niche, that is my practice. I'm also an entrepreneur. I own and operate a company called mybindi.com. Hopefully some of you in this room have heard of it. For those of you who haven't, I will invite you to please check it out. We are Canada's leading destination on South Asian arts, entertainment, lifestyle. Because of these 2 experience streams, having a background in law and working as a transactions lawyer, I'm a deal junkie, as my Bay Street colleagues called me. And I love business ideas. So after I became an entrepreneur myself, I figured out that some of the lessons you learn are through the mistakes you make. And there was a lot of joy in sharing those mistakes with other entrepreneurs so that they wouldn't make the mistakes I've made. And soon this became a regular dinner session where I would sit with friends, tell them about a book I've read, and say, you know what, this is so cool, and this. So anyway, people started taking my advice, some of them, and it worked. And before I knew it, I was introduced as someone's coach. And because I'm an entrepreneur, I kind of liked the sound of that. I said, I like being called a coach. Now, how can I monetize this? So I established another company, and it's my coaching practice. It's called Entrepreneur. So through Entrepreneur, I coach individuals. And I'm here today in my capacity as the CEO of mybindi.com, because what I'm going to talk to you about when it comes to business plans, I've called my presentation the business plan that actually works. That doesn't mean that the business plans we've heard about so far don't work. Okay, so let me put that out there first. The reason I call it the business plan that actually works is it actually works for your business. It's a different kind of business plan because the audience for this business plan is not your bank, it's not your lenders, it's not your investors. What's the audience for this business plan? It's your business. It's your business's business plan. So you need this business plan to run your business. And only when you have this business plan nailed that you will be ready and proficient and competent to develop the business plan that BDO wants to see, that your investors want to see, and that your clients and in some cases your landlords apparently want to see. So that's when you will get to those business plans, when you start having this business plan. What I want to do, and I wrote this down in a big rush. Sorry, like I said, I'm not the most conventional person out there. I'm going to start this presentation with a quote. I'm going to read this quote because this quote is very, very personal to me. It means a lot to me. And I'll tell you why after I read the quote. So here's the quote. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels and the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They are not fond of rules, and they have no respect for status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. But the one thing that you cannot do is ignore them. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as crazy, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that actually do. Does anybody know who this quote is from?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
So because of Steve Jobs' passing, who is, you know, a personal role model and a hero and a mentor, and I've loved everything he's done, you know, I'm going to dedicate tonight's session to Steve Jobs and that Steve Jobs quote and to his spirit of entrepreneurism. Okay, the business plan that actually works. Steve Jobs, when you think of him, you think of Apple. You think of his presentations, you think of his persona, you think of the company, and what's the company's story? Is that right? The company has a story that inspires you. You read about the days when he worked and slaved and did all the stuff that he did and went to India and became a Buddhist and came back and then felt passionate enough when he worked at Atari. That's a story. And through that story, he developed Apple. And then he got kicked out of Apple. And then he came back to Apple and he took it to the levels that it is at now. That is the story of Apple. Look around you. Everywhere you see a successful business, you'll see a good story. A good business has a good story. Whether it's Starbucks, whether it's Home Depot, whether it's the local bakery that made it good, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Zappos, whether it's Dell, right? There's always a good story. Your business plan is also going to tell a story. That's the first thing you need to know. Your business plan is not a dry document with charts and spreadsheets and numbers and it has all this financial information and it has all this data, but it has no soul, it has no heart. That is not the business plan your business needs. You need a business plan that has vision, that has expectations, that has passion, and that is a good story. Because that's the story your investors will want to read. That's the story you will want to read every day you go into business. This is not a document that you will refer to once a year, like most business plans are talked about. This is a dynamic document that you will keep with you. It will be on your shelf, easily accessible, brought down, referred to, added to, subtracted to. That is the story of your business. And that's how you have to start thinking about your business plan. So that's the first approach that I'm going to give you. This is what most business plans look like, right? You've seen a lot of these business plans that you go to Kinko's or you go to Staples and then you have your business plan and you're like quickly saying, make me the copy. What is wrong with this picture? Anybody?
Wow. It's bound.
It's bound. I hate that. And yet everybody that creates a business plan will first thing go and Sherlock's it. Do you know how difficult it is to replace a page in a Sherlock's document? When you create a business plan and you package it this way, what are you saying? This is a finite document. There is no room for change, there's no room for growth, there's no room for adapting, because it's Sherlock's. So that's what's wrong with this picture. So what I'm going to suggest to you, and these are things that have worked for me. They might be wrong. Remember what Steve Jobs said? We challenge the status quo. People might think we're crazy, and a lot of things that I'm going to suggest to you might sound crazy. But they worked for me. And they worked for a lot of entrepreneurs out there who did a lot of crazy things. So don't be scared of crazy. Don't be scared to challenge the status quo. Don't be scared to take in a business plan that reflects the spirit of your business. So your business's business plan, a 3-ring binder. That's what you need. A 3-ring binder that you can open, insert. You will be organized because you will have tabs. And you will create all those headings that you're supposed to create. Your HR structure and your financial structure and your market. Yes, but you know what? A new heading might come up. And you've created room for that. Pour your passion into your plan. Your spirit, your love for your company, it should jump out of your plan, even as you read it. Even as you read it, as you write it, as you put things in it, you should see that starry-eyed look, and somebody else should be able to feel your passion from reading about your ambition for your company. Pour your passion. Don't use fancy financial. I'm a lawyer and I'm saying this, so trust me. Use plain English. Use words that inspire you, that you can relate to. Remember, this is your business's business plan. This is the stuff you're going to be sharing with your employees, with your co-workers, and most importantly, with yourself. Most of you here, based on this information sheet that Ty gave me, this workshop is targeted for aspiring entrepreneurs and startups. Students and non-students are welcome. Newcomers to Canada who are looking to start or buy a business are also welcome. That's the audience I'm going to assume I'm speaking to. You are a startup. You are taking that leap of faith. Or you have just started a business. What did I do? Oh, is this supposed to look like that?
Yeah, that's okay.
I think there's a better way to do this.
Go to the point. Go to
You want to use
This one's 7.
Because I kind of don't like all this stuff showing in advance. Those are my fun things. Yes, thank you. Okay, so no jargon, use plain English, make it visual. But when I say make it visual, remember, this is your business plan. You're the one going to be looking at it. Who needs to be inspired by this plan? You. So put stuff in there that inspires you. Do you know what my business plan has? How many of you have driven on the Gardner Expressway? How many of you have seen that grass with those funky signs that say Bombardier and CGI?
Oh, yeah.
I have a picture of that in my business plan. Because someday, my vision is to have mybindi.com on that spot. It inspires me. It's part of my plan. And so where does it go? It goes in my business plan. So make it visual, but don't rely on charts. Don't rely just on graphs. Put handwritten notes. Put post-its. Put cutouts. You read something in the newspaper that you like. Somebody forwards you something that you enjoy. Stuff that inspires you. Grab it, collect it in one place so that when you need that jolt of inspiration, when you're sitting there thinking, why did I do this again? Why did I quit my job? This is the plan that's going to tell you everything that you thought was not worth fighting for. This is the plan that's going to remind you why you went into business. So it's important that it's you. We've all heard about SWOT, right? Everybody here knows what a SWOT analysis is. How many of you know what a so what analysis is? So here's what I'm going to propose to you. Again, these are things that worked for me, so don't try it at home or at business without that caveat in mind. Ask yourself, so what, when you create a business? Ask yourself, every business plan will say, tell us what your business does, right? And no matter what your business is, if you're in the business of making shoes, or if you're in the business of making coffee, that is what you're going to say. We are in the business of making coffee. Now ask yourself, so what? So what if you're in the business of making coffee? What's so great about that? There are so many other people that are making coffee. And then you will say, no, 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 no. But we're making coffee, or we're making shoes for very specific kind of clientele, with very specific kind of materials. And I'm going to ask you, so what? When you ask yourself enough so whats for your business, that is the point when you should be able to answer, this is the gap in this market, and here is where my business is going to step in and fill that gap and complete that void, and that is what becomes your unique sales proposition. Everybody will tell you, your business plan needs a unique sales proposition, and then you'll go up in a dictionary and look up unique sales proposition. That is what I want to see in your business plan. Why are you different? How do you differentiate yourself from everybody else that's making coffee or shoes or whatever it is that you're in business for? That is your unique sales proposition, and from that will come your mission statement. This is the central part of your business plan. So I've condensed it in very, very broad headings. What is your business? What is your market? And what gap are you filling? But that is the crux of what your business is. And unless you can get that and get excited about that and feel passionate about that, you're in the wrong business. Let me tell you that. It doesn't matter how fancy your business plan is. You will remain, you may be very rich one day. It's possible. But contrary, and with all due respect, I'm not in business to make money. It would be really cool to make 10 million, but I'm in business because I want to follow my passion and do what I love to do and do what I know I can do better than anybody else and serve a market that is going to be so happy with my product or my service. That's why most entrepreneurs go into business. And that's why you should be going into business, in my opinion. So, quick recap. What does your business do? Your purpose. Who does it help? Your market. When you think of your market, it's very important to understand how to frame the size and relevance of your market. I find a lot of people do this. They tend to pick broad numbers. So say again, you're in the business of, I don't know, phones. There's a gentleman next to me who works with RIM. So say he was one of the co-founders of RIM, okay? And he's there and he's like, okay, that's my market, or RIM today, right? And they're saying, what's the market size? If you are coming into that industry, and if you say, you know, there are 5 billion people, oh well, that's maybe too much, but anyway, let's throw a number out there. There's 100 million people that use cell phones. And if I capture even 1% of that market, right, that's how a lot of people argue their case for their market size. I think that's wrong. I think instead of saying that the market is 100 million and all I want is 1%, because if you are getting into business to get 1% of a market, you're not worth running a business. You're not qualified to run a business. How you should frame that is there are 100 million people that use cell phones, of which 40% use smartphones. I'm going to come up with the smartphone and I'm going to capture 70% of that smartphone market. You're saying probably the same thing, but how you say it, you want to dominate that market. You want to at least have the ambition to be the best in that market. So don't start your business plan by saying, I want 1% of this really big market. No, you want to rule in that market. That's how good you want to be because that's how good you are. It's very, very important, part 2 of any business plan, to excite yourself, is to have a vision, right? Everybody needs a vision. So what is your vision for your plan, and how are you going to cast and communicate that vision to yourself, and in time, when you're ready to do the proper business plan, I should call it, you know, these things will all come in. You will draw on this business plan to put nuggets in your real business plan. So let's take a look at determining your vision. This is really easy because this is part of what you've already done. When you determine your vision, you've already decided what you want to accomplish, whom you want to accomplish it for, and what results you want to create at the end of the cycle. When you define your vision based on what you've come up with, you're going to create what's called a vision statement. Everybody has a mission statement. Can I suggest to you to come up with your vision statement? So say, for example, Toys R Us. Toys R Us, I went on their website, and they have a vision statement. Their vision statement is that our vision is to put joy in kids' hearts and a smile on parents' faces. That's their vision, right? No matter what they do, that is the vision. At the end of the day, it's not, we want to increase shareholder equity. That's not a vision. That's a byproduct of your vision, right? Nike's vision is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. The fact that they'll make a lot of money doing that is a byproduct. But that is your vision. What is your company's vision? Once you've created that vision, you need to design that vision. And you have to cast that vision in front of your audiences, which means how you have your website, what your business card looks like, what your invoices look like. Imagine if every collateral that you put out there has your vision on it, right? When you see anything from My Bindi, it will always end with, for all aspects of South Asian arts, entertainment, lifestyle. That's our vision. We want to be the leaders when it comes to getting our clients, which is a very niche market, South Asians in Canada, and we have over 70-80% of that market, right? So that's our vision, and you'll see it everywhere. You'll see it on our site, you'll see it on our invoices, in our emails, in our stationery. That is our vision, and that needs to be your vision. And then you delegate this vision, and delegating is you can't be in front of every prospective customer telling them what your vision is. So you delegate it through your collateral, and that's delegating your vision. I'm sorry, I forget his name. Tony. Ronnie. Ronnie actually said this exactly, and I smiled because I'm going to say exactly what Ronnie said, except I'm going to bring a little bit of an unconventional twist to it. Remember what he said, that in a business you're wearing all these hats, right? Somebody asked me, you know, who is the CFO of MyBindi.com? I'm like, me? Who's the CEO? Me? Who's the marketing manager? Me? Who's whatever? I wear many hats. But you know what every business plan needs? You need an organization chart. And not in your head. On paper, in a sheet, in your 3-ring binder. Put the organization chart where you say what every department, every function, what your business needs. Your organization chart needs to be a tangible document that you can look at. And every time you're adding a new role, you're like, oh, that's a new function. And it doesn't have to be in your head. This is what my business's organization chart is what you should be able to say. This is from the web, so I love this quote. If you build it, they will come. Build your org chart. Build your company. Have that passion. And you know what? They will come. They is your staffers. They is your clients. They is your investors. They will come. All you need to do is obviously, and this is beyond the scope of this discussion, but we'll assume you've got a solid business idea for the purpose of this discussion. Best case scenario, ask yourself this. If money was no object, what would your company look like? Because a lot of people go to investors and they don't even know how much money to ask for. Because they've never had the courage to spend that money. So ask yourself, if money was no object, what would your business look like? Where would your offices be? What would your org chart look like? What would your healthcare plan look like? What would your marketing efforts look like? If you know what your best case scenario is, at least you know what you're working towards. But if you leave that kind of out there, saying when I get the money, let me just get that first $1 million and then I'm going to figure out where to allocate it. No, no, no. Here is where it is. And then when that first $1 million comes in, you will know exactly where to allocate it because you will know your priorities. You've already created that world where you have a business where money is no object. It's a very weird, quirky sounding exercise, but trust me, when you do it, it really makes things tangible and achievable. That's kind of scary, but it's true. Every business needs processes. So 3 parts to the Saira business plan. The first one is, what is your business? What do you do? What's your purpose? What's your passion? All that fun stuff. The second one is futuristic. What are you going to look like? And what's your business going to be if money was no object? What's your ultimate org chart? So you've got one, this is where you are. This is where you want to be. And that second part, you actually put it towards the end. In the middle, now you're going to put the process that's going to take you from A to B, from where you are today to where you will be, so that you have your business's sign on the side of Gardner Expressway, in my case. Okay, so what is process? I have fun stuff written down here. Process is basically allowing yourself to prepare for a certain conclusion or a certain outcome, to making sure that you have explored and done enough investigation of what the realities are, to have your vision, and then to put together some strategies, and then actually implementing it, and then going back to where you started. That's typically what a process cycle is. The key to a process cycle is implementation. Unless you know what to do with that process, it's just going to be a very nice looking process in your business plan. So the key is implementation, and because my audience here is entrepreneurs, because you are startups or looking to start up, or students or newcomers looking to invest or start businesses of your own, give yourself an honest SWOT analysis. This can be the most useless part of your business plan if you don't do it with honesty. Most people tend to upplay their strengths, downplay their weaknesses, make not much reference to the competition or the threat. If you are going to do a SWOT analysis, be honest. This is like your personal diary, right? If you lie in your diary, then what's the point of writing a diary? It's your diary. You're the only one that's going to read it. That's your business plan. If you're going to lie to yourself and downplay stuff, what's the point of doing a business plan? So if you do a SWOT analysis, I'm not going to tell you what this is because you all know what this is. I'm just going to say if you do it with honesty. But I will say this to you. A business is only as good as its systems. A lot of people, actually a lot of companies, I've heard this on so many interviews, and I'm always thinking, maybe I'm just the weird one here because I can't seem to agree with it. How many people have said, we have a great company, our people are our assets? Have you heard this statement before, anybody?
Yeah.
Our people are our assets. I think there's a fundamental problem with that statement. If your people are your assets, you are a people-based business. People are not what make the business. People are not what run the business. What runs the business? Systems. It's the systems that you have that will run your business, and it's the people that will run your systems. So if you are creating a business and a business plan, focus on your systems. I'm not saying people are not important. You have to get the right people. But unless you equip them and do a knowledge transfer, all that knowledge is going to be resting in one person. And the test you have to ask yourself, especially if you're a small business owner, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, can my business survive? If you cannot answer yes to that question, you don't own a business. You own a job. You're self-employed, and you have a job, and you own your job, but the minute you're gone, the business is gone. If you want to create a business, you create something where if you're gone, the business still moves on, and the only way to do that is to have excellent systems, which means every process is documented. This does not mean that you have people like a call center reading off a script. No. You're not creating a scenario where your employees are not allowed to think and adapt and change and make things better. You're creating a system which allows for consistency, reliability, the same result each time, so that the clients are not surprised, or a new trainee is not surprised when she comes in. And you know, at my Bindi, for example, everybody will end their email in more or less the same way. Every email correspondence from our staff will be more or less the same structure. It will all be genuine, it will all be authentic, but you will not have one staff ending by saying ciao, and the other one saying talk to you later. No, there is a policy of how you're going to structure your documentation. That's what I mean by systems. If you don't write it down, you don't own it. Your business doesn't own it. There's no system. I'm going to, at the end of my session, give you a list of 10 books that I think every entrepreneur should read. I've read all 10 of them, and I love them, so I'm going to ask you all to read it. But I'm going to give you that list. But before I get to that list, I'm going to talk to you about the stratified systems theory. Unfortunately, my time here does not allow me to tell you in detail what this theory is, but in essence, the person who wrote this theory, by the way, is a Canadian. His name's Elliot Jacques. He's the guy who also coined the term midlife crisis. And his, which has nothing to do with this theory of his, but his book, Requisite Organization, or his theory of requisite organization, is about cognitive ability and a time frame in how you do your tasks. So for example, if you have somebody, and this is, so how am I doing on time? I'm good? Okay. All right, so let me give you an example so you understand SST, because it's important. It's a little bit quirky, but once you get it, it's that aha moment, right? And we love those aha moments in business. When something comes to us and you're like, wow, really? Why did I not clue into this? And that's what happened to me when I first read about SST. So let's say what it is. You're a new business. You start with a very small team. You have a receptionist, and you're doing a lot of the work. The business grows. You have a little bit more employees. And at some point, your receptionist, who was so wonderful, you promote her to office manager, right? Happens in a lot of businesses. And she's a disaster. And you're thinking, I don't get it. She was so good as the receptionist. But when I gave her all this more responsibility, she's just out of control. She doesn't know what to do. Well, according to SST, every person, everyone in this room, has a certain cognitive ability. And that ability relates to the horizon in which we can process tasks. So if your cognitive ability, for example, is at a 1, 2, or 3, or 1 or 2, you can typically work very efficiently in scenarios where you're only given responsibilities that are either immediate or go up to 6 to 8 months or 1 year. So assume for a second that if your receptionist was on an SST level 1 or 2, she's fantastic as a receptionist, right? Because she is working within her cognitive framework, her SST competence. But when you promote her to an office manager, you've suddenly asked her to forecast holiday schedules for 2012. Whoa, that's a little bit out of her competence range because it's outside her SST ability. And what SST's requisite organization is about is matching SST levels to the right tasks. And the reason this is so important to you as an entrepreneur, and I've done this, I've been through this, is you give up a job. I walked away from a Bay Street salary. And I said, you know what, I'm going to take on this business and I'm going to turn it into something. And I'm going to work from my house, and I actually, contrary to Ronnie's good advice, refinanced my house. I said, I'm all in, because I believe in this, right? So I went all in, and then what happened is I was actually licking stamps, running around, photocopying stuff. What happened here? I am the CEO of this company. I have the vision. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know I can do it. But I am working at the time span of a level 1 person. And the minute your business does not have a CEO, because the CEO is filing and photocopying, you're a business without a CEO. So it's very important to start planning. I'm going to rush through this because I'm getting that time not see sign again. Track your time. Another thing that CEOs or startup owners, people that wear a lot of hats do, try this exercise. If you have a business that you own, right, for 1 week, track everything you do. If you're making a phone call to a client, if you're chasing an invoice, if you're writing an invoice, if you're calling the cleaner and complaining about the washroom's not clean yet, if you're calling the landlord, if you're picking up dry cleaning, if you write down every single thing for 1 week. Track your time and give everything a category. Finance, administration, office supplies, management, vision, whatever. And you will be shocked. You will be shocked to see how much crap you're doing, which you should be delegating. And this is the biggest trap that CEOs get into. So To manage your time, I use a software called Toggle. It's a free software. It's available as a smartphone app. So implementation is key. Let's make it happen. Here's all the good stuff. Thank you so very much. And that's my presentation. I actually have a list of 10 books, which I promised, if that's okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
Can I just read that out? No?
Oh, yeah, please.
Just a list of 10 books which I think every entrepreneur should read. I've read them all, and trust me, everything I've said to you comes from these books and more. Okay, first one, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, Good to Great by Jim Collins, Blue Ocean Strategy, I forget the guy's name, but you can Google it. E-Myth is about starting a business. Good to Great is about creating passionate, visionful enterprises.
What was the first one?
The E-Myth, E-Myth, which is the entrepreneurial myth. Good to Great by Jim Collins. Blue Ocean Strategy is about finding new markets rather than competing in the same bloody markets. Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. Fantastic book on relationship marketing and networking. You will never network the way you do right now after you've read this book. It's my Bible on networking. Everybody that joins my company has to read it. Never Eat Alone, Keith Ferrazzi. Getting Things Done by David Allen. Fabulous book. Will get you organized. You'll have folders, lists. Love it. We are so anal about stuff thanks to him. Duct Tape Marketing by John Johns. Excellent book for people who are in startups and need to see their marketing dollars stretch, just like the name suggests. It gives you fantastic ideas, great insights. Duct Tape Marketing by John Johns. The Purple Cow by Seth Godin gives you a completely different approach to market. It's called guerrilla marketing. Do things differently. Don't do the same old. Don't follow the crowd. Just because everybody's doing it, you don't need to do it. Challenge status quo. Be a little bit weird. Delivering Happiness, The Story of Zappos by Tony Hsieh. Amazing book. Zappos was acquired by Amazon 2 years ago for $1.2 billion. The guy sold everything he owned because he believed in this business. So in my world, your business world is not 180 degrees from your personal world. The lines are so blurry because that is you, right? That's my view, and that was Tony Hsieh's view. Think and Grow Rich, a very old book, I think 1930s, but still very, very sound, by Napoleon Hill. And the last thing is not a book, but a recommendation. Read biographies. Read the story of Steve Jobs. Read the story of Donald Trump. Read the story of Richard Branson, Lee Iacocca, Jack Welch. Everyone that's out there that's successful, they've given you a blueprint in their stories. They're telling you about their mistakes. How cool is that? You don't have to make those mistakes. Somebody else has made them. All you have to do is read about it and say, I'm going to learn from this. That's an expensive lesson I saved. So read, 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 read. And the last thing is, if you haven't had a chance to write this, just send me an email and I will send you a soft copy. Thank you for your indulgence. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah.